Welcome into a special OutKick the show. I am Clay Travis. I always enjoy announcing new shows, particularly when the people who are hosting the new shows are going to be a lot of fun and have established themselves for some times as being fun. Smart, original, funny, and authentic always works. And we are joined now by Ricky Cobb, who many of you are going to know from the Super70sSports Twitter account, which I think has around 1 million followers now. Is wildly funny, wildly nostalgic, and very, very entertaining. The man behind that account is Ricky Cobb, who is now an OutKick employee. He will have a new show that debuts at 11 o'clock Eastern on Monday, August the 12th, as part of the ongoing OutKick network of fabulous shows that we are putting out every single day. So, Ricky, welcome to OutKick. Your show is going to originate from Chicago, which is where you live. How excited are you for the start, and what should people who don't know you yet, what should they know about you? How would you introduce yourself to the OutKick audience?
Oh, wow. I'm a college professor who's moving into this field. I'm a comedian. I think one of the things about being the Super 70 sports guy is I've sort of defied labels, or I've been hard to label. Am I a sports expert? Well, kinda. Am I a pop culture political expert? Well, kinda. Am I a comedian? I think so. And so it's sort of a unique skill set that has brought me here. As you know, Clay, I got here through very unconventional means, and I've had a very interesting career arc over the past 5 to 10 years, and just couldn't be happier to end up at a place that, as you said, values original voices, and really is an opportunity for me, I think, to find the perfect landing spot here at OutKick. And so just couldn't be any more thrilled to be a part of things, and looking forward to hopefully entertaining the OutKick audience and bringing some new folks aboard as well.
Okay, take me into the Super 70 Sports Twitter account creation. So you are sitting around, it's what year? What was the ultimate inspiration for you to decide, hey, I'm going to dive in and be this voice of this account? So take me into sort of the genesis of that account. How did it begin?
It began, and I only remember this because this is what the platform tells me when I look at the origin date. I created the account on Christmas Eve of 2013. Didn't really start tweeting in earnest, and by that I mean daily. January 1st, 2015 is what I really consider to be the true birth date of Super 70s, because it was on that day that I made a conscious decision that I was going to create content every day. And indeed I have. It's been almost now 10 full years that I haven't missed a day, not one even. Eat your heart out, Cal Ripken Jr. And I would say that I could probably count on one hand, Clay, the number of days that I've tweeted less than 10 times. So there haven't been very many pinch hitting appearances in that streak. As for what led me to create it, I think really I was on Christmas break. As I said, from my 21 years of being a college professor, I was about halfway through those 21 years at the time. And I think I was just looking for something that would satisfy my creative itch. And for me, I thought, well, I'll create this account. I'd read a book called Big Hair and Plastic Grass, which was about baseball in the 1970s, written by a guy named Dan Epstein. And he was posting on Facebook baseball cards along with little birthday greetings. If it was Greg Luzinski's birthday, or if it was Phil Garner or Dave Parker's birthday, he would post an old Topps baseball card and just a little summary, something about him. And I thought, this is something that I kind of find myself looking forward to every day. I made a point of going to Facebook and pulling up Dan's page, and I wanted to see what player was going to pop up next, what memory it was going to be. And so I thought, what if I could kind of take a little bit of the flavor that Dan was doing on Facebook at that time and expand it out to other sports. Obviously, I have a passion for the era that I grew up in. And so the original concept was sports in the 70s. And believe me, I've been asked many times, why did you call it Super 70 Sports? This tweet isn't about sports. This tweet is from 1983. But in the beginning, I had no idea, Clay, that this was going to turn into anything whatsoever that was going to have any kind of legs, much less something that was going to lead me on a very different career path.
When was the first time? So you started this officially on January 1st of 2015, kind of as something that you were going to continue to do. When was the first time you remember people taking note of what you were doing or start to think, hey, maybe this would have something? And let me kind of preface that by saying, when I started writing online in 2004, I remember thinking to myself, boy, if I could have ever 100 daily readers, 1,000 daily readers, like that was a pipe dream when I started writing online back in 2004. And then over time, that obviously grew. We get millions of visitors every single day across OutKick platform views and everything else. I'm curious for you, was there a moment, maybe a new follower, maybe somebody retweeted you or shared it, where for the first time you thought, hey, maybe I've got something here? How long did that take?
There were stages to it. I would say by the end of the year, I had a pretty good idea that I had escaped my orbit, or at least what I thought would be my orbit. But Clay, I remember in the very early days, I would add 10 or 12 followers in a day, and I genuinely thought that was an achievement. And I guess it was at the time. I believe when I dug in on Jan 1 of 15, I had about 600 followers, maybe 650 followers. So I certainly remember hitting 1,000. And I remember I was in a Taco Bell drive-through the night that I hit 3,000. Some semi-prominent account had retweeted me, and suddenly I went from 2,700 to 2,800. It was like the odometer had sped up, and I hit 3,000. And I remember thinking, holy crap, 3,000 followers. You kind of started to get an inkling when people you had heard of would follow you, or people that you had heard of, famous people, would retweet you. And I remember, two of the earliest followers, Chad Lowe, the actor and director, followed me. And I remember joking to one of my friends, well, maybe he'll tell his brother and he'll follow me. And lo and behold, the very next day, I think Rob Lowe followed me. And I thought, well, holy shit, he did tell his brother. And as time went on, I went to 5,000, 10,000. And by the end of 2015, I had grown from, as I said, around 600 to about 20,000. And Sports Illustrated put me on some kind of garbage end of the year Twitter top one. I think it was their Twitter 100, the 100 best sports accounts on Twitter. And among Kobe Bryant and a lot of real names and people of stature, there was little old me getting in the team photo. And, at that time, that was pretty heady stuff. So I had a pretty good idea at the end of that first year that it was something, but I didn't really understand fully yet by any means what I had.
We're talking to Ricky Cobb, Super70sSports, going to have a brand new show, 11 a.m. Eastern every day. He's a new OutKick guy, and I'm excited to have him on. All right, so you have made the decision. A lot of people know the Twitter account, but they don't necessarily know you. At what point or how has balancing out what is relatively an anonymous Twitter account with you, the individual behind it, kind of been a bit of a challenge, and how do you think people are going to respond going forward knowing the guy behind the account?
There have been stages. I certainly, this is a level up to put my name on this show and say, hey, here's the Ricky Cobb show, and you're going to meet the guy behind the account. For a long time, nobody knew my name. And I realize even now, it's not like I'm an A-lister in terms of name.
Were you afraid, by the way? Was that conscious? Sorry to cut you off, but was that a conscious choice because of being a professor that you didn't necessarily want to be connected, maybe because of how people inside of the, I imagine the collegiate community might respond differently? Was that a conscious choice to you? Were you nervous about people knowing who you were?
I was not. I named it Super 70s in the first place because it was all about the account. I thought, I'll give it a name that makes sense so people can understand what it is. And by the time that it turned into something, that was just the name. And believe me, it was a little frustrating at times because I can't tell you how many times, Clay, that on the one hand, you're very gratified when you get a compliment, when people would say, you guys are great. I can't tell you how many times people said to me, you guys are hilarious. I love you guys. And on the one hand, it's like, well, wow, if they think I'm a staff of people, that's a pretty nice compliment. And on the other hand, after you've heard it time and time again, it's like, well, I do have a name. I am a person, and you do kind of want your roses a little bit after you've been slaving away for 5 or 6 or 7 years. I had a couple of really nice pieces done on me, and I believe it was 2019. The Chicago Tribune did a really nice feature piece on me. The New York Post, Mike Vaccaro in the New York Post did a really nice feature piece on me later that summer. And so my name started to catch up a little bit. My name at least put its shoes on and started to stretch a little bit, even though the Super 70s name was, spotted a pretty big lead. As time has gone on, I think that, certainly my fans that have been following me, some of which have been with me now for, almost the entire 10 years that I've really been at it in earnest. They know who I am, and I'm surprised sometimes when people do know who I am. But this is definitely taking it to a different place to say, all right, well, I'm putting my name on this show, and putting my face out here. Obviously, if you're going to be hosting a show, you're a personality. So the curtain has sort of been pulled back, and I look at this as kind of the natural evolution of my career, and something that in some ways is very wow. I can't believe I'm at this point. But on the other hand, it's one of those overnight success stories where, you've been at it for a long time and creating content on a daily basis. I mean, Clay, as you know, as well as anyone, creating content on a daily basis that stands out from the pack and has a point of view and is smart, original, funny, authentic, which I know is your mantra, and I think it's a very wise one. It prepares you in some ways for those future challenges. So I think I'm a rookie as I take over this show coming up, but I think in some ways I'm a little bit of a seasoned veteran too.
You coached, you taught, which is a form of coaching, to be honest, for over 20 years now. What did you teach? And have any of your students come up and been fans of the Twitter account? I'm curious if those worlds ever overlap.
A little bit, yeah. I'm a sociology professor, which I think good comedy and at heart, I think the humor is probably the thing that Super 70s is best known for, and certainly it's just an extension of who I am. Super 70s, I've always told people, it's a big part of who I am. It's not everything that I am. I think people will get a lot more of a three-dimensional perspective on who Ricky Cobb is from watching the show. But for me, humor is just what I do. My daughters would attest. I can't turn it off. And the Twitter feed is just my real personality dialed up a notch or two. And in the classroom as well, I think my students would say that I was the funny, engaging professor who realized that if I could keep you awake for 75 minutes with a few jokes and clever comments here and there, that maybe you would actually end up learning more. And certainly as a sociologist, I'm a big fan of observational comics. I think the best comics, whether you're talking about your Larry Davids or your Dave Chappelle's, guys like that, they're social observers at heart, and they can find things that are significant sometimes in just the mundane trivialities of life. And when you're trolling the internet for about a decade, trying to caption photos, lots of times are pretty ordinary photos. The ones that speak for themselves, they don't require as much artistry from me. But when I can get 5,000 or 10,000 likes or 1,000+ retweets on something that really is just an ordinary photo that I sprinkled a little comedy pixie dust on, that's, pretty gratifying to me as a comic. So I think the marriage of sociology and sort of the comedic social observation I do is something that really has gone hand in hand.
What's your favorite tweet, and what's the tweet that's been the most shared? Do they overlap, or is there something that to you was just your baby and you're like, I think this is maybe a perfect distillation of what I do? And then which one has echoed or reverberated throughout the social universe on the internet, maybe more than any other?
Well, I'll take the question of my favorite. I couldn't give you just one favorite that was, taking the impact out of consideration, and just what do I like the best from a personal artistic standpoint. Lots of times the ones that I like the best aren't necessarily the ones that resonate the most with the audience, but I kind of think that that's part and parcel of working in comedy every day of your life. I sometimes think that stand-ups have it pretty easy. They can go into a little club somewhere with maybe 20 or 50 people, less than that in some cases, and they can workshop their material and see what works, what doesn't work, and they firm it up. And when they're ready, if they're a comic of, any kind of stature, then they take it out to clubs around the country. Or if they're big timers, they take it to arenas around the country. I'm playing with live ammo every day, Clay. I don't have anywhere to test this stuff. I test it on the entire public. And so that's a lot of pressure if you stop and really think about it. And I pretty much never stop and think of it in that way. I think it's just because I've been working in this forum for so long now that if you do stop and think about the fact that you're trying, especially if it's a risky joke, and I think if you're not taking chances,
you can't go too far down the rabbit hole. You can't psychoanalyze it. You have to trust your instincts. And then if people don't like it, you're 100% right, because you'll sit there and you'll worry yourself to such an extent that you won't say what you really think or do what you really say. Okay, so I appreciate that. What is the one that has echoed around the internet the most? What did you share? I bet you're at least, know the top 2 or 3 just in terms of reach.
Yeah, I always tell people it's my Hey Jude. My Hey Jude is the Howard Cosell, Bruce Jenner, O.J. Simpson.
That's
tweet.
An amazing one. Yes.
Yeah, that's the one that did more than it's an accumulation, right? There's no one tweet, unfortunately, that catapults you into super internet stardom, but that one went a long way to people kind of noticing Super70sSports. So yeah, if you're familiar with that one, it sounds like you are. That's the one that
but for people who aren't familiar with that one, describe it. Describe that tweet and how it went super viral for people who have not seen it, because they may clip this small part of the show. In fact, I bet they will, to share it. That tweet, how many people would have seen it? Describe it. Take me through the creative process to put that out there.
Well, the creative on these, people ask, it's like songwriting in a way, I think. I always kind of equate it to that. People will say, does the picture cut come first and then you write the caption? Do you think of something funny and then go looking for a picture that will suit the caption? And the answer to both of those questions is yes. Depends on the tweet. Somebody sent me this screen grab of Cosell, Jenner, and Simpson, and I just put it on my phone. I saved it. I didn't have... Initially, I knew it was gray. I knew it was gold when I saw it because it's one of those where you just see it and visually, you know you're working with something. And I didn't want to just throw anything on it and send it out. So I actually hung on to it for probably about a week. And then I sat down one night and the caption just came to me. And the caption was Howard Cosell speaking. And he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I've looked into the future and you won't believe this shit." Flanked by Bruce Jenner, who was by then Caitlyn Jenner, and O.J. Simpson, who, obviously we know what happened to him. So it took off. You never know. My instincts are pretty good by this point. I usually know, and I tweet a lot, as you know, Clay. I'm putting out 20, 30 pieces of content a day, and I've been known to do as many as 50 in the past. So they can't all be Billboard top 10 hits. You do have some album cuts every day in order to keep the wheels moving, but I've learned to sort of guess which ones are going to resonate more and which maybe aren't going to, blow up. But that particular tweet just astonished me. It obviously tapped into the zeitgeist, and it just went off like a rocket.
We're talking to Super 70 Sports. Ricky Cobb, new show, 11 a.m. Eastern daily with OutKick will debut on Monday, August the 12th. When you look now, smart, original, funny, and authentic. I came into your account for the first time. Our friend overlaps, Ron, who lives in my neighborhood and did all these T-shirts for me, also has done a ton of T-shirts for you. When you think about the medium that you've been very, very successful in, Twitter, and now you're transitioning into a daily show, what are you most excited about with the forum that you will now have compared to the forum that you've had in the past and the success you've had there? And how do you think that will change maybe the way that you present yourself, or will it at all?
Well, I think there are a few factors. For one, I love interviewing interesting people. So, and I love asking people questions that they haven't gotten 1,000 times. So, I want to get a lot of folks on this show, names that people are well familiar with, but take an entirely different road with them than what ordinarily happens. Because sometimes, you'll see 20 different interviews with somebody that you're a fan of, and 18 of the interviews are virtually identical, and the other two don't differ very much. So that's one thing. Another thing is having the opportunity to talk more about contemporary things. I want this show to be a mix of what people expect from me, and quite frankly, what I think I'm really good at, which is kind of the evergreen content, the comedic content, the observations about life, the observations about athletes, celebrities, days gone by. But I also want to be talking about what's happening now, what's going on in the news today, sports, pop culture, politics as well, which is certainly going to be a departure for me from Twitter. But if I had to boil it down to the thing that I look forward to the most, it's being able to work in a world where I have more than 280 characters. Clay, I've gotten very good at getting it. It makes you a better writer. It really does. People may not consider tweeting writing, but when you have to get in, make the point, it makes you a very good writer. I
rewrite tweets all the time. For your point, I think a lot of people do not think about this. In order to not have you have to go to another screen, you have to be able to distill everything into that space. And now you've got what I would say is a broader canvas. It's good because a lot of times you have to distill, what I always say is bullet point that bitch, like distill something into its essence. And you have to do that on Twitter. but it's also a benefit to having the forum to be able to say exactly what you think, which is what we're excited to have with you now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm looking forward to, because I think if you follow the feed, I think oftentimes a lot of the best content comes in the comment sections with a lot of the things that I tweeted, and occasionally I'm jealous. Sometimes I'll see something in the comments and I'll think, well, geez, that's even more clever than what I came up with initially. And so I did a stand-up gig here in Chicago last December, and the format, I wanted to try to do something different. And so the format of this gig, we put together a set list functionally of about 30 classic Super 70 Sports tweets, and we would project them up onto the screen. The audience would react, and then I would have, on average, anywhere 3, 4, 5 minutes to expound upon that and really riff on it. And so this show is an opportunity to take ideas that I have to be very pinpoint and efficient with on X and explore them in a way that I hope will be a lot more satisfying, not only for myself, but for the audience as well.
Well, I can't wait to watch. I think you're going to kill it for us. Again, show's going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern every day, Monday to Friday, part of the OutKick network. Let me close it out with this question for you. I don't know if you saw the poll that I put up on Saturday, but I bet you saw the French pole vaulter with the gigantic penis knock the pole off with his penis. Would you rather win the gold medal in the pole vault or have everyone know you have a gigantic penis across the whole world? That was the poll question. If you had to choose between those two, which would you prefer?
Well, Clay, there's a lot of gold medalists, but how many people become icons for the armadillo that they have in their trousers, as Spinal Tap once said? I mean, that's some things are better than gold medals, Clay. What were the results of the poll? I have to ask.
I mean, most people agreed with you. 65% said they would rather lose the gold medal because of their gigantic penis than win a gold medal. 35% said they would. So that was a great poll, but that's a good result. I wasn't surprised by the answer. I'm not surprised by your answer either, but that is hopefully the kind of thing you'll be able to dive into with pop culture, the politics, the news. And by the way, for everybody out there, just that anybody cares, the only thing I care about, and I told you this, but I'd say it publicly too, is say exactly what you think. Be authentic. Don't tiptoe up to anything. That's what's important to me at OutKick, no matter what the topic is. You don't have to agree with me or whatever OutKick has written or anything else. Be smart, original, funny, and authentic yourself, and I think you will, and I think you're going to kill it. That's the only advice that I would give you as this show gets ready to launch.
Well, Clay, that's advice that I take to heart, and I got to tell you, as I've told you personally before, I just appreciate you giving me the ball. At this point, I just wanted some touches, and you've certainly given me the opportunity to get my hands on the ball. And the intention is to be smart, funny, original, authentic, and to do that on a daily basis, and hopefully entertain people and make this a place where we can congregate and have a hell of a lot of fun.
Amen. I think you're going to kill it. The show is going to be the Ricky Cobb Show. It'll be at 11 a.m. Eastern every single day on the OutKick Network. Make sure that you're following Super 70 Sports. I'm sure that there will be a lot of overlap there as well. I know you're going to do fantastic. Ricky, congratulations. Welcome to the team, and have some fun starting on October 12th. Sorry, August 12th.
I can't wait, Clay. Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic, and as I've said, thanks, boss. I appreciate the confidence that you have in me. I'm going to try to deliver some good stuff for you.
August 12th, be watching Ricky Cobb Show. It debuts 11 a.m. Eastern. I'm Clay Travis. He's Ricky Cobb. OutKick just keeps getting bigger, better, hopefully smarter, more original, funnier, and even more authentic than it already has been. We got some good stuff. Ricky Cobb's going to be another tremendous addition. Look forward to it.